Geek Out! Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And we got another interview this week, this time with Brian Schirmer and Jeremy Saliba, who are the writer and editor / cover artist, respectively, of the Image Comics miniseries Black Jack Ketchum, which gets collected and put out in a trade paperback in comic shops everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, June 8th. We recorded a book review for it and posted it last month, so definitely check that out if you hadn't heard it already. The art is by Claudia Balboni. Unfortunately, we couldn't get her for this particular interview, but hey, we got the writer and the editor / cover artist, so there you go. And you know what? Let's let these guys talk about it. And joining us, we've got Brian Schirmer, the writer of Black Jack Ketchum, and Jeremy Saliba, who's the editor on the book and also does he's also the cover artist. So, gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think a lot of people that either read the book or kind of see it around don't know that Black Jack Ketchum, I can enunciate today, I swear to God, was an actual outlaw.
He was a member of my family going back a few generations. My great grandmother's cousin. So I heard stories about him, since as long as I was cognizant of stories that were being told around me by family members. That this was a guy, and this was our family's claim to fame, as it were, on my mother's side. And then jump forward a couple decades, and I'm presented with an opportunity to actually create a comic for Image, and the guy I was working with at the time, trying to put a pitch together, wanted to do a Western, and I said, well, I've got just the lead character for us.
What made it What made it? I'm sorry, man.
It's okay.
Yeah, because you've got him in a very unusual situation. It's clear from the outset of the series. There's a lot of extra-dimensional stuff going on. There's these enigmatic duster characters. What made it the right idea to then take that kind of real-world Western, especially now that I know, because I'm kind of blown away that he was your relative. I had no idea.
That was an exclusive to this interview.
What made it the idea to kind of make it a Weird West then?
So when the pitch was originally put together, I was working with a guy that I was friends with, and we'd worked with previously. And he I basically went to him and said, well, what would you like to do? And one of the first things he said was, I want to do a Western. And I said, okay, well, I've got a family tie that we can put in there, and that will be an interesting character. And a few months previous to this, I had actually, this is going to sound kind of silly, but I had a dream. I had a dream that was basically set in a surrealist version of the Old West. And this is not the type of dream that I typically have by any stretch of the imagination, but it involved a lot of the elements that wound up in the comic here, including these giant Nazgul type guys who are decked out in dusters, big leather dusters with no face, and kind of these unstoppable Terminator-like things. And also had the saloons that were basically, it's kind of like walking into a Target where every Target you step into is the exact same Target. So what if you stepped into a Target and then you could walk out into into a different state or a different country? It was kind of like that, but in an Old West setting. And this is all in a dream. So when the time came to actually, come up with an idea, as it were, for a Western, I gave him both of those ideas, and he thought it was great. And I thought, it's like, well, that's something that hasn't been done, so let's see what happens.
Was the plan always to just make it a miniseries, or?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. We were originally just putting the idea together to shop it around. We thought we'd do a miniseries because neither one of us had actually, we'd self-published before, but we'd never been published by a third party. And then when we were given the opportunity to pitch it to Image, I absolutely knew I wanted it to be a miniseries because I knew we were an untested commodity, as it were, on the stage, and I wanted to learn as much as I could about working for them, being published by them, and I didn't want to necessarily be basically learning all of this, doing all on-the-job training, as it were, for something that might be an ongoing, if that makes any sense.
No, totally. Well, Jeremy, how did you kind of get involved with the project?
Brian and I have worked together a lot over the years. I've worked on some pitches with him, doing interiors and stuff, and we had the big 3 self-published graphic novels we had done prior to this, the Ultra Sylvania books. I work at the Academy of Art, and I teach art classes and comics classes. So we put together a class where all the students had a section of this graphic novel and put it together, and it worked out really well. Just to kind of, I guess, have me again in place as kind of that editor role to kind of wrangle what was going on and kind of just check all the tires on everything and making sure it's going okay as it keeps sailing forward. So, and I knew both the artist and Brian on that initial pitch, and so he brought me in again to kind of help oversee things and just lend a hand.
And again, you do the covers, and they're gorgeous. I do have to ask. I mean, especially with the family history that you've got, Brian. Have westerns always been a big genre for you guys?
Actually, short answer, yes. Jeremy, you want to field that?
Yeah, it's what's one of the foundational pillars of our relationship, I think, is our love of westerns. We're both big suckers for it, and we worked on a pitch previously that was a western. One of the first projects we did together was kind of an anthology, again, self-published book, and one of the stories we worked on was a zombie western, which was always a cool idea that Brian liked to mess around with. We both did. The idea of a zombie story set in the Old West. Is this a totally different flavor? You can't get on the phone and call anybody for help or anything. And, who knows how much desert's around you? It could just be an isolated tale that ends in that town. So we liked it, and we were shopping that pitch around. It was right around the time Walking Dead was getting really big and getting a TV show. And the one thing we heard people say was, yeah, any pitches, anything except zombies. Because zombies are big. And we're like, oh, okay. We're back to the drawing board.
And then Red Dead Redemption stole your idea.
Yeah, yes, curses.
Are you guys more Sergio Leone or more John Ford?
I'm all over the map. Honestly, I grew up with John Ford, and then eventually discovered Leone, and then in the last 5-6 years, just got to Jodorowsky and like things like the Holy Mountain and El Topo, which, if you haven't seen. It's it is an art house western is probably the best way to describe those films.
He's an unusual director. The Holy Mountain, one of the most infamous things I know about it is that a guy poops gold in that movie.
That just skyrocketed to the top of my list.
Yeah.
Been in the Park episode too.
Yeah, if you're interested in being challenged, that's a good one. I'm a Sergio Leone guy. I watch Once Upon a Time in the West. Like, I try to fit it in once a month. It's probably one of my favorite movies, and just kind of when I talk to friends about liking westerns, they just point at those movies, the good, the bad, the ugly, and that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of the sun rises and sets with that.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of all of that, I think, in Ketchum, and I'd also throw in some very direct influence, at least for me, from McCabe and Mrs. Miller, which was a Robert Altman film back in the early 70s, which is very, very bleak. Set in the winter with Warren Beatty and Julie Christie, and then also, if I had to pick one of Clint Eastwood's films, I would probably say High Plains Drifter.
Yeah, I was just going to say High Plains Drifter.
Not Pale Rider?
No. Well, no, I mean, Pale Rider could be a High Plains Drifter. I definitely got that vibe reading it, because that's, if not my favorite, one of my favorite Clint Eastwood westerns of all time.
Yeah, and I also feel like the Dusters are kind of like visually owe a lot to the gang in the beginning of Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the zombie pitch that we worked on, we were basically looking at that movie as kind of like a cool way to kind of lifting and opening from a story and kind of saying, well, let's do Once Upon a Time in the West, but with zombies. And so that's still kind of part of the DNA, I'm sure, of those discussions.
Sure, and I wouldn't doubt that the dream that I had, probably about almost 4 years ago now, was no doubt influenced by probably a recent screening of that at the time.
Now, what made Claudia Balboni the right artist for the job?
So we started this pitch with one guy, and we got picked up by. It's a long answer to your question, but it'll be a good one. We got picked up by Image, which was great, and then about maybe 4 weeks later, found out from the artist that he wasn't going to be able to do it. Basically, his star had risen in multiple areas, not just comics, and told us that he wasn't going to be available to work on anything for 18 months. And we had a brief discussion and agreed that
slash meltdown.
No, sure. I also like to tell the story that I freaked out for about 30 minutes and then realized that, hey, this is an awesome opportunity. We've basically got kind of a blank check from Image, and now we can go out and basically find someone. We can go out and talk to people that we know in the industry and say, hey, we lost our artist. Can you recommend anybody? And boy, did we had a stellar response. We probably had about a dozen people that we were ultimately vetting, as it were, as potential. I don't want to say replacements, but as a potential co-creator for this book. And everybody was very excited. And we looked at, as I say, we looked at a bunch of work from people, most of whom had been published before, but not all of them. And ultimately, we loved what we got from Claudia. It was breathtaking from the very first pages that she turned in. And we knew, because we'd seen what she had done previously. She had done work for IDW. She'd worked on Star Trek. She'd worked on True Blood. And that, those were very, you got to skew very close to, you have be on model for things because it's a licensed property. And we get the pages from her for Ketchum, and it was so clear that she was just cutting loose, that she was just having the time of her life. And Jeremy and I looked at each other and said, "Yeah, this is what we're going with. So we got to take this to Stevenson."
Right. We had basically, when all these artists said that they were interested, we kind of said, okay, well, here's what we're going to do then. Can you do a couple samples, do a couple pages from this pitch script that we have, and then we can send them by way of Image, and then they can kind of help us find the best fit for everything. And a lot of great artwork, a lot of really cool people just giving us their time and trying out some artwork on some pages for this idea. And we went through it and kind of formed our kind of opinions. All of it was good. It was just which one was the best fit. And Stevenson and we all kind of agreed that Claudia just had something going for her on these pages.
There's definitely kind of like there's a kinetic sense to it, and she definitely can. I don't know if it's because of the Star Trek background when it comes to the more otherworldly locations, like I guess in between worlds and all that sort of thing that she definitely brings to it. While I don't know, Leone was Italian. That's all I got, but so was Corbucci. I'm actually in a way, the book almost reminds me more of Corbucci because it does have that bleakness,
Yeah. And it's funny you should mention that. I've got a friend of mine is a huge film buff. Is too general. He is a film buff, but was very specific. He loves his spaghetti westerns, but Corbucci would be the most name person that he would drop. He basically he'll be showing me movies by people you've never heard of. So he's got that little itch that he scratches, and he's a blaxploitation fan, and anyway, he's turned me on to a great many things. And he was the first person to actually show me the original Django, which was 5-6 years ago, I'm guessing at this point. So yeah, there's definitely some DNA of that in there too.
I'm a big fan of The Great Silence myself. If you've ever,
which I have yet to see, I have seen clips, and it just looks amazing.
There is a lot of The Great Silence. I think as much as he kind of worships on the altar of Leone, I suspect that Tarantino's a bigger Corbucci fan because there's big elements of The Great Silence. I mean, obviously Django Unchained is a clear tip of the hat to Django, but right. No, there's a lot of Great Silence in both that and especially in The Hateful Eight. So definitely check that one out if you get the chance.
Yeah,
awesome.
So again, Black Jack Ketchum is only a miniseries. What do you guys have next on the docket?
The cliche, as cliche as it sounds, nothing we can talk about at the moment. Nothing that's been announced. I am gonna guess that you will probably hear about something around the time of Rose City in September.
Okay,
I'll put that out there.
We'll be at San Diego in July, so...
Oh, sweet! Yeah, we'll be there too.
As will we.
Oh, excellent.
Sweet, man.
Corrupting the halls with our presence.
Yes. Cosplay as dusters, just kind of.
Yo,
like,
yeah.
The same friend that I just mentioned, who's the big film buff, has quote as threatened to actually come as Ketchum to the signing that we'll have. So that should. I'm hoping this happens because he's a guy who loves his beard, and I have asked him. It's like you're going to shave off your beard and do this, and he said absolutely. So
Nice. Keep an eye out for that then.
Yeah.
yes.
You're usually around that booth, so.
Yeah.
The something we ask everybody that's on the show: what are you guys currently geeking out over?
Jeremy.
Well, Civil War was pretty fun.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed that movie a lot. I geeked over that pretty hard. In terms of everything, it's been eclipsing a lot. Brian,
Who do you?
I saw it for the second time just yesterday. So I would concur with the Civil War. The other bit I would throw in is, believe it or not, I had this huge gap in my geek education, which is almost completed now. I have just started season 7 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh.
I missed that entire bit. I know my Serenity. I love my Serenity, but I never saw Buffy.
It's all right. I was a late bloomer to Buffy as well.
Hey, I'm part of the club.
Yeah. I was going to say, who do you guys think stole the show in Civil War? Because we were talking about that on one of the last episodes.
Oh wow. It's hard for the first night I saw it opening night, and if that was solely my experience for it, I would say Spider-Man, only because the audience lost their shit.
Oh, yeah.
They want the minute that he, basically when he said he's Peter Parker and he's in his room and he's talking to Stark and he clarifies that he's all uncomfortable and folding his arms, says Spider-Man. The audience just went nuts. But one of the things I took away from the first time and for me was underscored on a successive viewing was part of what makes this movie great is that the guys that wrote it, every character gets some time.
Yeah.
Every character gets not only screen time, but they get dialogue that is pertinent, that is very much in their character. Even quote unquote little people, like Hawkeye. He's only there for I think 3 scenes, but he's great. I think they give Jeremy Renner the most to actually play with than maybe he's had in any of the films, which I thought was great.
Yeah. From getting Scarlet Witch to being in the fight and then to his kind of dialogue at the end while he's in prison, Stark and everything. It was kind of a fun little trifecta for him. I think the Bugs stole the show. Ant-Man and Spider-Man. They were big surprise breakouts, and not just in the movie. Everyone's great in it, and I think that's part of the success is that they balance that ensemble well. Kind of, Age of Ultron, had its mixed elements to it. Some people liked it more than others, and they had a lot to juggle in that movie. And this one, I think, did that juggling act a little bit more successfully.
And I can't get out without saying Black Panther. T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman was just phenomenal. It was fantastic. I was very pleased, and I think as many others came out of there absolutely raring and ready to go for the Black Panther film.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they're like adding some pretty great people to that. Like they have to, I don't know if it's official about Michael B. Jordan joining the cast, and
seems like it.
They're like basically ransacking the Creed.
Yeah, bring Stallone in too. Why not?
Stallone's apparently in.
He can be Dredd.
Guardian.
He can be Dredd again.
Bring him back as Dredd. It's funny because we're all like really big Judge Dredd fans, like movies and the books, and all good and bad. But it's funny. I was watching. I don't know what Stallone movie I was watching. And I'm sitting there, I'm like,
was it Daylight?
No, it wasn't Daylight. But I was watching it, and I was going, this guy would make a really good Judge Dredd. And I just completely lapsed that moment where he clearly did it, 21 years ago or whatever. But he still got that jaw for it, man. He could still, and the voice too.
Oddly enough, at the gym last night when I was there, I was on the treadmill, and they have the TVs on the treadmill, and I was just flipping through the channels, and I see this movie where it's Sylvester Stallone and he's talking about being called the Champ and there's boxing stuff, and I was like, oh cool, a Rocky movie. And then Robert De Niro comes on, and I'm like,
there you go,
fucking right, they did this whole other movie.
Grudge Match.
I remember when the trailer, and I think you were there, Jake, when the trailer for Grudge Match first aired, and this old middle-aged lady in front of me was like, I just don't see Robert De Niro as a boxer.
That doesn't work for me. Raging Bull. But, one of my favorite things about seeing all these superhero movies, and especially the successful ones that sell out, because I've seen Civil War twice, is when like kids are in the audience, because like
Yes.
they're kind of like this unfiltered, and it happened with Man of Steel. We talked about this a long time ago in one of the episodes, how they kind of like don't care about the critics or if the plot points are working. They just care that Superman's on the screen, or they, and so when Spider-Man shows up, it wasn't necessarily Peter Parker, because they were kind of like, who's this kid? But then once he shows up, in the suit, he's kicking ass. Like the kids, it takes you back to being like a kid watching these movies. And one of my favorite moments was kind of like a really sweet moment, was when and we'll spoilers for all the Civil War stuff, but there's that shot where Vision accidentally shoots War Machine, and War Machine crashes down, whatever, and Falcon comes up and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," to Tony, and Tony zaps him, and the kid goes, "But he said sorry." Like he couldn't understand that superheroes were fighting. It was killing this kid that superheroes were fighting, but at the same time, when Giant Man showed up, it was like the greatest day of this kid's life and my life.
Yeah, that was the one moment where I in the theater opening night I let out a yes,
and that worked so well. Like if you, like a couple of years ago, if you were like, they're going to put Ant-Man in the MCU, and it's going to be this really kind of quirky, wonderful, fresh take movie, and then he's going to show up in like basically Avengers 2.5, and in that scene, in my opinion, like the airport scene, which is going to be go down as one of the greatest fight scenes of all time, he steals that scene in my opinion, because just the Giant Man works so well.
Right. The setup was really great. I've only done this once, and I passed out. I might rip myself in half when I try this. And then they have this way of, in their movies, having us and the characters live this moment of excitement together, where he was like, "Oh my God, it's working! Look, this is awesome! I'm Giant Man." And we got to kind of do the same thing.
Sure.
Tony Stark's reaction to that, like if anybody else,
if anyone else, massive cataclysmic powers, but and also like just having Paul Rudd, like nobody hates Paul Rudd. It's like Tom Hanks. Everybody loves Paul Rudd, and so that moment, and I think it kind of goes really quick, is when he, like you were saying, living with the audience, where he gives Captain America his shield, and he goes, "Here's your shield, Captain America," and he because he's so excited to be part of this team. It just it's such a fun film. Like we all had the the biggest geek smiles on our face after we got out.
Well, I read I read a few interviews with the guys, the screenwriters, and they said that the scene where he rolls out of the van and goes up and meets Captain America, and turns to like Scarlet Witch, says, "Oh, it's you. You're great." So apparently they scripted that the morning of, because Paul Rudd basically got there and they realized that he was as in awe of being with these actors as Ant-Man would have been, being around these A-list superheroes. And they said, we're going to use that. We're going to use that energy. And he pretty much ad-libbed what he did. So they gave Chris Evans and Jeremy Renner, their lines, and I think Sebastian Stan has one line, and basically had Paul Rudd go in there and having just met these people earlier that morning, and not really hung out or anything, and so it was all so new to him, and it's captured in the footage, which is great.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a very Paul Rudd thing to do. He's very much improvisation.
The Adam McKay years have trained him well for that stuff.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Remember when he was Paris in the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet?
I also remember he's in Cider House Rules, which is not a funny performance of his.
God, was he 12?
I've always liked him. Wet Hot American Summer was a film that made Paul Rudd really stand out for me too.
Yeah, and that the Netflix series is really good too. I was surprised they managed to get everybody in there. Certainly better than they did for like Arrested Development, where they were just kind of like they're kind of piecemeal. But at the risk of kind of bringing the mood down, we've kind of been reeling from the loss of Darwin Cook. I was wondering if you guys had anything to kind of talk about, because he's, for my money, one of the greatest artists of his generation.
I
Jeremy, you go.
He's yeah. I mean, he's influenced everybody. It's crazy. You know, we all have our little media feeds, and they're kind of become our world sometimes. And when certain artists die, that's all you see in your feeds all day, and it's all been Darwin Cook all weekend, and it's the the reach he had, the appeal that he had with what he did. It goes beyond a lot of other elements of style and things like that. It's just he had good ideas and he had good appeal, and he had a great sense of design, and those are the top things I think about, and that's how he influenced me the most, is just looking at not the way you render, not the way how realistic you can make it look, but how cool you can make it look.
I was honestly I was shocked at how hard it hit me. I never met the man, but I certainly knew people who knew him and knew him very well, and I'd always enjoyed his work. I enjoyed his storytelling, and by that I mean the way he could tell a story just on a single page, in terms of layout, in terms of composition, and I still, to this day, when I'm working on anything, there are certain books of his, certain issues of his that I will go back to, even when we were, plotting out Black Jack Ketchum. There were 2 issues of his that he did for Palmiotti and Gray's Jonah Hex, and I wouldn't be borrowing the Western motif or anything, but just this, again, the storytelling and the way that he was able to carry he would carry a thought, he would carry a beat per page, and move the story along in emotionally gripping fashion.
Well, and I feel like based on Black Jack Ketchum, there's a lot of his work on the Parker books are kind of your wheelhouse.
Yes. Yeah. I own them all. I will at this point certainly pick up the Martini edition. And yeah, there are they're certainly not underrated by any stretch of the imagination. I can't think of anybody that I know that reads any of those Parker books and goes, eh. But it's just, they are also, especially the very first one, The Hunter. I will go back to that again and again, because there are so many stylistic devices on display there that I think you could hand Parker the Hunter to an aspiring comic creator that's never done anything and say, here's your textbook. This is going to show you how a litany of things that you can actually do in this medium, and it's all going to work.
Yeah, I mean, it was my one experience with Darwin Cook was this past New York Comic Con. I was Jake and I sometimes help out at the various comic book conventions for Image. I actually ran into you guys at WonderCon a couple months ago, and Cook was, I think that was his last big con experience, and he had just worked on the Twilight Children book with the Casanova.
Hernandez. Oh. The Hernandez brothers?
Or not Hernandez, but who? What Image book do they work on? But anyway, they had all collaborated together on the Twilight Children, and they were having a signing over at the booth in New York. And I didn't want to because they were clearly having a moment between creators and friends. I didn't want to blow up their spot, so I didn't. But I remember as he kind of walked away, kind of looked at the booth, and I kind of gave him the Jersey nod, and which he kind of returned. Yeah, that's my one Darwin Cook story. But yeah, that was a shock this weekend.
It's 2016 has not been a very generous year to artists of any kind.
Oh, no, we've been blasting Prince and Bowie, basically nonstop this year.
Yep.
So.
I hope it's done. Let's just say no one else dies for the rest of it. We'll carry it over to the next year. No one else has to die in 2016.
We have hit our quota. We are
seriously.
Good. Yeah. And then it's crazy because I'm just thinking it's been, because we do movie commentaries as well, and we're doing Star Trek commentaries, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, Leonard Nimoy has only been dead for about a year himself. Yep. That was a big, for some reason it feels like he's been gone longer, but that was a big loss for me personally as kind of a Trekkie, which is how I first kind of became aware of Claudio Balboni.
My earliest television memories are Star Trek. I had an aunt and an uncle who were huge Trekkies when it originally aired, and then as soon as it was into reruns, and I was a wee lad, they would be watching it all the time. So it's part of my genetic makeup, definitely. And I will, there are a handful of people that you know of in your lifetime that you will remember where you were and what you were doing when they died. And I remember where I was when I learned that Nimoy had passed, because it was somewhat appropriate. I was in the online queue waiting to get my professional badge for San Diego Comic Con.
Kind of the kind of weird geek synergy.
Yeah. It's like, wow, this is cast a bit of a pall over things, but at the same time, I kind of went, yeah, it's not inappropriate. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, to kind of, I guess, so we make sure that we don't end the interview on a bit of a pall.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any? Are you guys looking to plug anything? Do you guys have anything like really cool going on? Or at least not as fixated on death as I guess we were for the last 5 years.
Well, I'm pretty much taking the show on the road the remainder of this year. But this is the 1 month out of the year that I'm not going to be at a convention. So the Ketchum comes out on June 8th, and then I'll be at Heroes Con in North Carolina, I think a week and a half after that. And then Jeremy and I will both be at San Diego Comic Con in July. August, we got something special going on that I can't talk about yet because it's not locked in. But if it does happen, trust me, you will not be able to not hear about it because it'll be a big promotional thing. And then September, there's the inaugural San Fran Comic Con or San Francisco Comic Con. It's the first week in September. And then Rose City. And then October's New York. And then November, I'm actually going to be going to Thought Bubble in Leeds in England.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, nary a month goes by that there's not some shilling going on.
Be sure to talk to Latour about his favorite barbecue places in Charlotte.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna start priming my mouth right now.
I've been outside of Black Jack stuff. I've been doing some covers for Dynamite on their Pathfinder Hollow Mountain series. So I think I just finished up a run of covers for them. It's a cool series and they have some cool characters. So check that out too.
Playing Pathfinder.
Do you enjoy doing the cover stuff? Have you done any interiors lately?
I do enjoy doing the covers a lot. I haven't done interiors lately. The last time I think I did interiors was on Ultra Sylvania, a couple 3 years ago. I've been working full time at the academy teaching, and I have a couple of Rugrats that are still kind of little that I'm chasing around. So
sure,
the commitment for interiors hasn't been as there, but all this being involved with it's making my teeth itch to start chewing on some more interiors soon.
Have you been thinking about editing more?
Yeah. The aforementioned undiscussable projects might have something in store for me there as well. So,
gosh, man, we might have to get you guys back on to talk about the aforementioned undiscussable.
I think you guys should leave the title as that. I think it's pretty cool.
That's a good title.
It rolls really well off the tongue.
It's like a Cloverfield level event. But yeah, well, gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show. And again, Black Jack Ketchum out in comic shops and on Comixology everywhere on Wednesday, June 8th. Guys, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was awesome.
Well, that was a fun interview.
Yeah.
And anytime I get to talk about Westerns is like a good fucking time.
You definitely did have a gleam in your eye. A
Yes.
gleam? Yeah, a gleam.
A gleam, yeah.
You had toothpaste in your eye.
Yes. Yes, all of it. Yeah, so yeah, definitely check out that book again out in comic book stores and on Comixology everywhere on Wednesday, June 8th. What you fellas been up to?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I just saw The Nice Guys.
What a coinky dink.
What theater? What time?
I was at the Centerville Multiplex.
The fuck out of here.
Yeah, it was actually, I just got out of it
Yeah, me
before we
too.
started recording.
Wait,
yeah.
I drove with you.
Yeah. And Sam, I saw you at the theater.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
we
I was
saw
reaching into your lap for popcorn and other things.
Yes. Don't say and other things. Yes. Reference the movie. It's a good movie.
Oh, it's, for me, it's like a top 5 so far for the year.
Yeah.
Right up there with Civil War and Sing Street and Everybody Wants Some and Zootopia is in the top 5 still.
Yeah. I would say that it's one of the best Shane Black movies I've seen this year.
That's right, because you and Jake saw the re-release of the first Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
A week ago, we saw his first movie, and now we've seen his most recent movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like outside of like cinephile circles, he's only known for creating Lethal Weapon, being the guy that wears glasses, maybe in Predator, and writing and directing Iron Man 3. Yeah. No one talks Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Nobody talks. I guess The Last Boy Scout.
Yeah.
I feel like he had a hand in.
If you anyone out there who's enjoyed The Nice Guys needs to run to the nearest something.
Don't walk.
Yeah, don't
Run.
walk. Run.
Pause this podcast.
Run, Barry, run, and fucking watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, because Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is in terms of directing like still the fucking top for me with Shane Black. That movie is fucking unreal, and it's pre-Iron Man Robert Downey Jr., like right before he blows up.
It's arguably what gets him his mojo back, his confidence.
Yeah, and so
It's
him
up.
and Val Kilmer. It's what introduced me to Michelle Monaghan.
Yep.
Moynihan.
Who's fantastic.
Or
But
no,
it's
Robbie Moynihan.
yeah, but yeah, go if you like The Nice Guys and you haven't seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, or if you have, fuck it, see it again, because I'm gonna do that. Because Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is so fucking good.
I think I'm just gonna drive you back to your house so I can borrow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
I mean,
from you.
it's gonna be hard for me to find it, but
well, then
I'll bring it next time.
You know what? I'm gonna check to see if it's on Amazon,
But-
and then that'll help our listeners see if they want to watch it.
But
I mean, you guys keep talking.
yeah, no, I think it's funny because I think that movie came out to rent on my first day ever at Blockbuster. That and The Matador, which was a good day.
Yeah.
But
which is what got Brosnan his mojo
Yeah,
back
that's my
after getting fired from
it's
Bond.
my favorite Brosnan.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, definitely see Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. But Nice Guys is fantastic.
Nice Guys is the funniest movie I've seen so far this year.
Yeah.
It is
yeah,
available
yeah.
to rent or buy on Amazon Video. It's streaming service that Amazon has.
Right, Amazon Instant. But yeah, no, it's I feel like you and I have had this kind of conversation before where we're like, I want more comedic Gosling.
Yeah.
And in this movie we got more comedic Gosling.
Because he's a naturally funny guy.
I am gonna go ahead and say it, and I said this off mic, so it won't be a surprise to you guys. But best Ryan Gosling movie I've ever seen. Granted, the only other one that I can think of readily in my head is Drive.
The Big Short?
No, I don't think I saw The Big Short. Wait, yes, I did. I did see The Big Short. Still would put this above The Big Short.
Yeah.
Yeah, he obviously has a bigger role in that too.
But yeah, I hated Drive. So
Yeah.
and that turned me off to Ryan Gosling a lot.
Shame.
And then I hadn't really seen him in anything before then because I never saw the
you probably
Notebook.
shouldn't watch Only God Forgives. Like you probably shouldn't watch
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, even if you love Drive, you probably shouldn't watch Only God Forgives. I mean, I own that fucking movie. Because like Gosling, as I said off mic as well, but was
such a stupid point to add. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I say that all the time. I say it all the time, and it's like they don't fucking care.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
anyone listening to this is like,
I could
we don't-
tell you the meaning of fucking life off mic, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't care.
You wouldn't know. You now know a pointless shit. And
Oh, look at that! They talk off mic
Yeah.
too.
yeah,
but
yeah,
That's
we're
right,
not.
guys. We're friends in real life.
Yeah, it's not like White Album Beatles where
Yeah.
we record in separate studios.
that'd be funny if we fucking like cut it together, like the Mars Volta.
I would. I refuse. I will never do that.
But the fuck was I talking about?
The Nice Guys
Yeah.
and Gosling being awesome.
Oh yeah, Gosling off mic. I was saying the fucking off mic comment threw me off. Well, he's number 2 on my list behind Tom Hardy for like actors. I think he's like right
Yeah.
up there with him. You know, he's just fucking stellar.
because of like Half Nelson.
Well, Half Nelson, I mean, he's fantastic in that. Lars and the Real Girl is one of his best performances. Blue Valentine is my favorite Ryan Gosling performance. I think one of the best movies of the 21st century. You know, I think that movie is astounding. Yeah, but I remember Half Nelson coming out, and that was big time. I feel like that was start of the switch of like, this guy's really taking this shit seriously, and he's making some really interesting choices. Gosling makes really, really interesting choices.
Not all
with his
Gangster
performances.
Squad for Gosling.
Yeah, and like, you know, again, Gangster Squad, that he had he was fine in it. It's just that was a really weird movie.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I actually really wanted to see that, but it just I was in New York at the time, so I had no money to go to the theater.
Yeah.
And the internet was terrible, so even if I wanted to download it illegally, it would have taken like a week.
But yeah, I mean his range is fucking.
Don't download movies illegally.
His range is fucking nuts. You know what I mean? Like just to name like 3 movies, we'll have The Other Guys is the comedic side. We have Lars and the Real Girl, which is where he's this kind of very introverted
The Nice
character.
Guys, by the way.
Nice Guys, yeah.
Other Guys is starring
And,
Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
And then you get like a movie
Also
like
a funny movie.
You get a movie like Drive, which like he's fucking vicious.
Yeah.
You know,
caving in dudes' skulls
that's
and stuff.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's so fucking cool.
He's got the jacket and everything.
Great. That's one of those movies where I like
My
ran
thing
out
about
the soundtrack
yeah.
like right after it.
Oh yeah, my thing about Drive, I really love the beginning of Drive, and then he doesn't drive as much, but no, it's still like good. But I remember because everything I thought Drive would be was in that opening sequence, and I was just like, oh fuck. He's like,
really? Like him just like doing getaway shit?
yeah, like in the streets of Los Angeles at
Yeah,
night.
I was really hyped for a getaway movie when I saw that.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about it going into it.
I expected at least a little bit of driving.
No.
From a
I mean,
movie called Drive.
there is a little.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a fucking high speed pursuit, but
Yeah.
The Nice Guys. It's Shane Black in top form. You know, all the Shane Blackisms are there.
I like how it kind of opened the same way that the first Lethal Weapon movie opened,
Yeah,
with a half-naked woman
on top of a car.
dying.
Yeah, I mean, we get
Not to say that I like half-naked women dying, but
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, we get there's Keith David, who's always cool.
Spawn himself.
Oh my god.
Spawn.
Yeah, that was when I saw his name in the credits, I was like, "Fuck yeah, Keith David's in this movie."
Yeah, I mean, really cool, like 70s, like soundtrack. Like it's
a little bit of Kiss.
some Kiss.
Really
There's some
Kiss.
Kiss. Russell. What do you think of Russell Crowe? Because we've been all over Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, I love Russell Crowe. And he has the not obviously his role's not as showy, but he's got a lot of like interesting stuff going on, bubbling under.
Yeah.
With his character and his interactions with Gosling's daughter, who was
Sure,
really
yeah.
good, really, really stellar performance. But I mean, it just he can throw in the craziest shit, Shane Black, into a movie, and it makes sense and it's funny and you just buy it.
Yeah, it's like the darkest humor, but you still like it's still fucking funny.
Yeah,
the scene where Gosling, and naturally there's going to be a little spoilery in our review, but it's been out for like 2 or 3 weeks, so fuck it. The scene where Gosling falls asleep at the wheel,
Primo.
and they do it so seamlessly, like a Nightmare on Elm Street, sleep, where you slowly realize that, like, wait a second, this isn't real. Like when Crow's like, no, just self-driving car. It's
Yeah.
like, this is the 70s. They didn't have self-driving car.
Yeah, all cars can do it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then there's the fucking man-sized bee. in the
Voiced by
backseat.
Hannibal Buress.
Yeah. Oh my god. When I after a couple lines, I was like, "Is that fucking Hannibal Buress?"
I was so.
We've seen at the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah.
Did you-
Before he got big.
Yeah.
Did you notice though they had like the Comedy Store or whatever that he lives on top of?
Yeah.
They have like a bunch of like comedians that
Always
are just
Tim
starting
Allen.
out. And Tim
Yeah.
Allen, yeah.
Always Tim Allen. You know whose mom runs the Comedy Store? Pauly Shore's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Good to see someone in the family still making money. Oh, I don't like Pauly Shore.
yeah, man. I've seen Biodome and Encino Man.
That
Biodome is amazing.
worked for its
Mhm.
time. That worked for its time.
Sure. So pro Biodome, anti Drive. I think that like speaks everything I need.
And Wild Wild West.
And
Wild West.
you're helping your cause, man.
I'm saying what
Shooting
I
them,
like.
shooting
Hey,
them from
you
the
do.
hip.
Hey, you do you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not
you
trying
do.
to convince anyone that I'm a great,
You do you.
I just enjoy being entertained in a movie theater.
Also,
One
fucking
that pop-
Chet,
make
man.
that popcorn
Yeah,
worth it.
Fucking
Yeah,
shit.
fucking Chet.
Fucking Chet. Fuck 'em.
Fuck him. Fucking
Fuck 'em.
Chet.
But no, man, it's like it's a really cool kind of. It's basically what Inherent Vice should have been.
Yes. And from the trailers, I was like, this looks like it hits on what Inherent Vice wanted to do.
Because I wanted to like that movie
Yeah, I
so
really-
bad.
oh
Me too.
my
But
God.
that was a disaster of a
Terrible
movie.
movie.
Yeah, it's one of the. I mean, And I was reading some reviewers thing, and he's like, the greatest film of the 21st century is The Master by Paul Thomas Anderson. Blow it out your ass. Blow it out your fucking ass. That movie sucks so... The Master is worse than Inherent Vice.
Oh, jeez. I haven't finished The Master.
Is it because it's fucking terrible?
Well, no.
I never started it because it didn't.
Is it because it's fucking terrible?
Yeah, because I knew inherently.
Yeah.
But yeah, so check out The Nice Guys. It scratches that itch that Inherent Vice left me wanting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. The only other big thing I think that we kind of got going on, there's that new Star Trek Beyond trailer.
Yeah, that we didn't really have the chance to touch on last week.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it looks a lot better. Streets ahead.
It is
from the previous one.
Quite the course correction.
Yeah. I think the thing was, like, the first trailer, they were like, you know what? Let's give them some jokes. That the kids love jokes. The kids love to laugh. And then
kids love the Beastie Boys.
Yeah. And then they realized, oh wait, people don't want that in a Star Trek movie. Let's downplay the humor and the Beastie Boys.
Yeah. And there's also, they kind of tie it to the first film a bit, like, your father, you joined Starfleet on a dare. Your father joined Starfleet to make a difference.
Yeah.
And then we get more of Idris Elba as the bad guy.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking that it would be Klingons, because they kind of tease up the Klingons to be the big bad in Star Trek Into Darkness, but apparently it's not the Klingons.
Yeah.
Unless they radically redesign them.
Yeah. It happened before.
Yeah. Yeah. In between.
Have we even seen Klingons in the J.J. Abrams universe?
Yeah, in Star Trek Into Darkness.
Are they? Okay, I've only saw that movie once.
Well, you're in luck.
That's
true. Because
it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Not until like August, though.
Yeah.
I was looking at like our commentary schedule, and it was just like, because we do. I'm gonna tell you what our commentary schedule is. I don't even fucking care.
Go ahead, lift the veil.
Yeah, I will do it just because you made that reference. The first 6, so we do the first 6 Star Wars movies. Independence Day is on a Monday. Star Trek, right?
We did the first 6 Star Wars movies.
We did. We did all the Star Wars movies, including Clone Wars, but
but not the Ewok Adventures. They weren't theater
TV movies.
Yeah.
We do the first 6 Star Trek films. We take a break because Independence Day happens to follow on a Monday, which is when we normally release commentaries, which I'm sure longtime listeners know, and to do Independence Day in honor of Independence Day Resurgence. We do all the Next Gen films, all 4 of them. We take another break for me and Jake to do our birthday commentaries, and then we do the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films.
God, so it's just like stretched out.
It's
at least we get some breathers.
There's some interludes in there, including interludes that you and I specifically pick.
That's
Yeah,
now, the wait for
you
those
get the
movies
palate
now
cleanser.
are fucking paramount.
What do you guys think of the Jason Bourne trailer? Because that was the first time I saw it on the big screen.
Really?
That was actually the first time I've seen that trailer, and it looked like a Bourne movie.
Return to form.
I will say, like, what my least favorite Jason Bourne movie doesn't even have Jason Bourne. It's The Bourne Legacy with Jeremy Renner. But my least favorite of
I believe that was Society's least favorite Bourne movie too.
I think so, because I can watch the first 3 just fine. Having said that, the shaky cam in The Bourne Supremacy is so bad, but Greengrass really, I think, corrects it in Ultimatum.
Yeah, Ultimatum's fantastic. Yeah, Supremacy is the weakest of that trilogy. Like, I think that's that's there. But yeah,
Even with Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't tell the difference between any of those movies.
You're in luck, because the commentary series after Star Trek is the Bourne movies, including the Bourne Legacy.
I like how I'm learning what the commentary schedule is at the same time as the audience.
I think I emailed it to you.
Yeah, no, you did. Yeah, and I looked over it, but like it, I was like,
granted, that was like 6 months ago.
That, and also I'm like, Sam's gonna tell me like the at least the week before to make sure we have the movie ready to go.
Yeah, man.
And at this point we're still doing series, so
yeah. Well, because obviously we've got the Independence Day interlude and we've got the birthday interludes, and Halloween we always have kind of our Halloween horror month, which is always a lot of fun. And honestly, it's some of my favorite commentaries that we do is the Halloween stuff.
Those are great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Star Trek, Bourne, and Harry Potter in honor of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So we hit all the major geek things, because we started this year, or basically we ended last year with Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And we started this year with Superman and X-Men. We're in the middle of Star Trek. Bourne doesn't really have a geek fan base per se, but it's
It's every dad's favorite movie.
yeah. Just like every dad's favorite writer is Ed
Brubaker.
and then Harry Potter, huge fucking following.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was one month, again, I don't really give a shit. This is kind of a self-disclosure. Because guess what? Next week is our 100th episode, so keep an eye out. So this is where I get a little candid. There was the month we posted the Guardians of the Galaxy commentary. That was the most downloaded thing that entire month.
Yeah.
So apparently you guys dig commentaries. Apparently you guys dig the geekier commentaries.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. There was one month where I swear to Christ, the best download was Rocky 3.
Why not?
I don't know. It's my favorite, but I don't know why.
That movie's like 10 seconds long, so it's just like an easy, breezy cover girl.
Yeah, after Rocky 2, which goes like maybe 30 minutes longer than it should. Yeah,
it does.
But yeah, man, you guys got anything else to add?
I did want to touch on the new Ghostbusters trailer.
That's a course correction too.
Yeah, have you guys seen that one?
You know how many times, like, I started this, but you know how many times you said course correction over the past 2 weeks?
Lots.
Fucking lot.
Yeah, well, that's because so many movies that are like in their like trailer buzz, several months,
or Justice League Part 1 after
Yeah.
the response to Batman v Superman.
Course correct.
This is the year of course corrections.
DC Rebirth.
The Tony Stark, yeah.
Yeah,
Which
now
is course
Watchmen's
correct.
part of the DC universe.
I know.
Did you guys
fuck?
Speaking real quick? Speaking of DC Rebirth, did you hear that there was like midnight launch events for that?
Yeah, last week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, like I didn't know about this until I randomly got a snap. Because I'm on the Snapchat
For Midtown?
No, for one of my friends that works at the movie theater who's big into comics, and he sent me a snap that was like, "Go to a DC Rebirth midnight launch? Why not?" I was like, "Why would you?"
Yeah. I mean,
They're going to print so many of the copies of the comics, you're not going to have to worry about not getting one.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in my box ready for me.
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet, but internet being internet and me not giving a shit, I know that now the Watchmen are part of the DC universe.
That was a thing that was announced a week or two ago.
They
at least?
announced it in USA Today.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, well, before the issue even came out. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Course correction.
And we get it. I never gave a shit about the origin of the Ghostbusters logo, but it's cool to see it.
Yeah. And like it was just each trailer that they've released has made me a little bit more interested. Like at first I was just disinterested because I was like, it looks just like a series of shtick jokes. Yeah. Like I could not care less that it's all a female cast. Like, it doesn't make any difference to me.
I don't care who's wearing the proton pack. I just want a good fucking movie.
Exactly. And I don't like shtick. And it was just all shtick and one-liners. And I was like, no, thank you. And then like now they're showing like some more of like the action and like the effects and Melissa McCarthy with the proton punch glove thing. Like I was like, well, that looks kind of cool, and then like the international trailer. I don't know if you guys saw the international trailer, but that one's like even a little bit better than the second US trailer. And so like I'm still not like hyped for it, but like I want to see it now. Like at first I was like, well, I know I'll eventually see it, but now I'm like, I'm going to catch that, for surezies within like the first week or two, and who knows, maybe they'll put out another trailer, and if it keeps going on the same course that it's going, I'm going to be like, all right, let's do this opening night.
I'll probably do, honestly, Ghostbusters is one of those franchises I'll probably do opening night.
Yeah.
I would normally say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I saw the film that this is a sequel of, so maybe not.
Well, that's going to be the weekend that we're in AwesomeCon, this coming weekend.
Yeah.
That's going to be AwesomeCon, so I'm going to be distracted by that.
Yeah, I can, just like we did with the last one, I can do that on a $5 day.
Yeah. Just bring your ibuprofen.
Yes, I will bring my extra strength Excedrin or whatever the fuck, Tylenol extra strength this time around.
I don't know if anyone remembers. I'm sure we talked about it, and no, if you want to go back and listen to the archives, go for it. That'll just make it look better on our downloads. But Sam left that movie And by left that movie, I mean it happened about halfway through, but it was still blaring when he left it with a humongous migraine, and could not be what's the word? Could not be helped. Couldn't be satisfied for the rest of the night. We went to the old Shabine for karaoke. I was like, "You want to get a drink?" And he was like, "No, my head hurts so fucking much. I don't even want a drink. I just want some Advil or Tylenol, whatever. I need like a gigantic horse tranquilizer to calm down my brain."
Yeah, give it to me rectally.
Just like Garfield.
Yeah,
right, Garfield.
I'm sure.
President Garfield.
Oh, President Garfield. Yeah, I was like, the cat? Probably. I mean, he eats lasagna. That's what happens, right? No, yeah, President Garfield, as you'll probably find out. Just look it up. God damn it.
Look up the way he died.
Look up which president? He was what? President number 20? Because 21 would be Chester A. Arthur?
Yeah. I do know, based on Die Hard with a Vengeance, Chester A. Arthur, president number 21. I know that.
There you go.
I have trouble remembering if Lincoln is number 15 or 16.
16.
Thank you. But Chester A. Arthur, 21st president, because
15's James Buchanan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those useless things. Like, basically everything I can do is maybe not the most pragmatic thing. And one of those things is I can name all the presidents in order, and tell you which ones died by being fed rectally, which is honestly just James Garfield, as far as I know.
Which means I can do that too.
I can tell you that they suspect Zachary Taylor had an allergic reaction to milk and cherries.
Ooh.
He's another. I think
he's
the
same time.
He had them he ingested anyway, fuck it. But yeah, man.
Tune in next week for President's Deaths with Sam Stone. Yeah, that should be what you do after you're done with Beatles.
Oh God. I've got people clamoring like we should do something after Beatles, and it's like I've already got something in the works.
Actually, I think that would be an interesting show to do.
The presidents,
like the presidents and their deaths.
Yeah, just the presidents.
Like do like a half-hour expose talking about like the last couple days of their lives or something like that.
The final days of the American presidents.
Ooh, there you go. With Sam Stone.
That's what the title would be.
Yeah, and it has like some like
or Twilight of the American Presidents.
Ooh, and it has like a West Wing sort of like orchestration of just like no.
Remember how at the because I'm rewatching the West Wing actually.
No.
Yeah, well, every time I finish a new season of House of Cards, I chase it down with all the Sorkin episodes of The West Wing, which is to say the first 4 seasons, and then I'll watch the
best 4.
Basic apps hands down, and then I'll watch the series finale, and I'll be like, all right, cool, because I always think about like it's not that bad, is it? It's not that much of a drop off between seasons 4 and 5, and then as I get closer and closer to the end of season 4, I'm like, it is actually that bad. And so I just watch the series finale so I can get some measure of closure and then move on to whatever the fuck else next. But yeah, the end of it, regardless if it's a happy ending or a sad ending in the West Wing, you get like this super happy end credits music, and it's so like incongruent, especially if it's like a sad ending, like, sir, your daughter's been kidnapped.
That's like that was like Neon Genesis Evangelion. Like every episode, like the end credits is just a Japanese rendition of Sinatra's
My Way.
Yeah,
Fly Me to the
Moon.
Okay.
And like that show, like almost every episode ends on like the most depressing, like mind fuck of whatever. And it's just fly me to the moon so I can dance among the or whatever the lyrics are. I think
stars,
yeah. But like it's like super like Japanese pop, and it's
in other words,
yeah, and it's a Japanese woman singing English, but like she's got the accent and everything, and it's just like this does not fit.
The live action adaptation of Death Note. The theme song is Danny California by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Nice.
You would think. But yeah, man. So yeah, you guys got anything before we sign off?
No.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I still have my Power Glove.
It's so bad. But yeah, man. Check out Black Jack Ketchum again out in bookstores everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, June 8th. Thanks again to Brian Schirmer and Jeremy Saliba for coming on. Hope to have drinks with you guys in San Diego. This has been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bonner.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a new commentary every Monday. We've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.